You know that image, right? A bustling street. You hear that kind of haunting melody from a flute, and there's a cobra just swaying, seemingly mesmerized, rising out of a basket. It's iconic. Feels like it's been around forever. But what if I told you that pretty much everything you think you know about snake charming is, well, it's an illusion? Okay, let's get into it and peel back the layers on this one, separating the myths from a really deadly reality. So, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? The entire performance, the whole show, it all hangs on this one idea that a musician, with just a song, can tame one of the most dangerous reptiles on the planet. But is it really music? Or is it just a very clever trick? We are about to find out. You know, this quote from an investigator who actually went undercover to figure this out, it just nails it with such simple logic. Think about it. If the flute was magic, they wouldn't need to spend an hour dramatically searching for a snake, would they? They'd just play a tune and the snakes would come slithering in. This right here is our first big clue that something's not quite right. Okay, so let's start with the star of the show, the flute. To really get what's going on, we have to understand a little bit about how snakes work. You know, a little bit of snake biology. So get this, snakes don't have ears on the outside like we do. They can't hear music floating through the air. The myth is that they're just enchanted by this beautiful melody. But the reality, the science of it, is that they hear by feeling. They pick up vibrations in the ground through their jawbone. So what's the snake actually reacting to? It's the charmer tapping his foot on the ground and, more importantly, the movement of the flute itself. The snake sees this big swaying object as a threat. It's not dancing, it's taking up a defensive posture, ready to strike. So how do we know all this for sure? Well, our source for this decided to go undercover. He posed as a videographer so he could get right up close and film the whole process from beginning to end. And that's what allowed him to see past the show and really witness how the trick is done. And what he found was that it's basically a script, a four-step play that they follow every single time. First, you have the long, dramatic search to build up all the suspense. Then they start a commotion to get a crowd together. That leads to the big, theatrical discovery of the snake. But it's that last step, the secret reveal, that's the one they really don't want you to see. And check this out. This one incident just shows how totally fake the search really is. So during one of these searches, the charmer's big performance gets cut short when they accidentally stumble on a nest of angry yellow paper wasps, and they get swarmed. They were so busy acting, so focused on their pretend search, that they missed a very real, very painful danger right in front of them. It just proves they weren't actually looking for a snake at all.
So, here it is, the big secret. There is no search. The snake is never found out in the wild. It's hidden on the charmer, usually in a bag tucked inside their clothes, the entire time. They just wait for a moment when no one's looking, a little misdirection, and then they pull it out and the show begins. The whole hunt is a complete fabrication.
Okay, and this is where we need to pivot, because this story goes from what seems like a pretty harmless street scam to something much more serious. The deception doesn't actually end when the music stops. In fact, that's where the real danger starts.
Right about now, you're probably thinking, okay, so it's a trick. They're just trying to earn a living. What's the harm? And that is the exact question we have to tackle. Because when people believe a charmer has some kind of magical power over snakes, they also start to believe them when they claim they can cure snake bites.
And this is why it matters so much. Believing in the magic leads people to trust fake cures. So instead of rushing to a hospital to get the life-saving antivenom, they waste precious, critical time on these useless folk remedies. And that delay, it's often fatal. Now, it's important to say the goal here isn't to shame the charmers. For a lot of them, this is the only way they know how to make money. It's their rosy roadie, their bread and butter. The goal is just to educate everyone, the public and the performers. Now, a huge part of this dangerous medical scam is something called the manica, or the snake stone. It's usually just some black, porous-looking stone, maybe even a piece of polished wood. And the claim is that if you put it on a snake bite, it'll magically stick to the wound and just suck all the venom out. Scientifically speaking, this is absolute fantasy. So our source decided to put this claim to the ultimate test. Right there, in front of a big crowd, he challenged a charmer directly. He held up a very venomous cobra and said, "Okay, let this snake bite you. Then use your magic stone and prove to all of us that it can save you." And the charmer's response? He dropped everything and ran. I mean, you can't get a more powerful demonstration of the truth than that, can you?
So to fight these dangerous ideas, it's absolutely crucial to understand the real biology of these animals. Let's take a minute and separate some really common local myths from actual scientific fact.
All right, there are two myths that are just everywhere. First, the idea that if you kill a snake, its mate will hunt you down for revenge. The reality is much more scientific. During mating season, a female snake leaves a powerful scent trail. If someone kills her and then carries that scent, maybe on their clothes or on the stick they used, a male snake is just following the smell. It's not seeking vengeance. The second myth is that you need to outrun a snake. Look, snakes don't chase people. Their first instinct is always to escape a threat, not to pursue one.
You know, knowledge is power, and knowing the actual threats is key. In this particular region of Pakistan, there are 3 main venomous snakes you really need to be aware of. You've got the common krait, or sangchur, which is so dangerous because it often bites farmers when they're sleeping. And the bite can feel like a mosquito sting, so people don't even know they're in trouble. Then there's the famous cobra, or kalanag, with its powerful neurotoxic venom. And finally, the saw-scaled viper, or kapata, which is a big problem because it's often found near people's homes and crops.
And let's put a number on just how urgent this is. The venom from that saw-scaled viper we just mentioned, it can be fatal in as little as 6 hours if you don't get antivenom. 6 hours, that's your window. Wasting even one of those hours on a fake cure is literally a life-or-death mistake.
All right, so we've busted the myths, we've identified the real dangers, so now we're at the most important part. What can you actually do to stay safe? This is the kind of information that saves lives. So here's the bottom line. If you or someone you're with gets bitten, the first, the last, the only thing you should do is get to a hospital. Immediately. Antivenom is the only thing that works. Don't waste a single second on snake stones or anything else. And for prevention, simple things like sealing the gaps under your doors can make a huge difference in keeping snakes out. And if you absolutely have to kill a snake, don't just toss it aside. Bury it deep in the ground to get rid of that scent trail so you don't attract another one.
And that really leaves us with this final thought, doesn't it? Snake charming is an ancient tradition, it's a piece of cultural history. But as we've just seen, it's a tradition that's built on a lie that has lethal consequences, and it forces us to ask a really tough question. At what point does preserving a cultural performance become less important than protecting human lives? It's something worth thinking about.